And they can have my things when we're dead. But we gonna live forever. But we gonna live forever.
Boys, fellas.
We should get the Micro Machines guy. Do you think he's still alive to just do
The Micro Peen Machine.
The Micro Peen Machine man.
The best way to support the Boyscast if you like the pod, patreon.com/theboyscast. The second best, leave a comment or rate and review on iTunes. Push us up in that algorithm. Put us in the top pods.
Yep. Third best is actually something that just happened to me about an hour ago.
Pretty solid.
Pretty solid. It was very supportive. So I'm at the gym that I eat at, and
Doing his Kegels.
doing my Kegels, and I'm about to take a shower. I got my towel on, just a towel, pretty sexy. And there's this guy there. It's just me and this guy, and he comes to me. He goes, "Hey man, keep up the good work." And I go, "Oh, this guy likes the videos.
Standard
he likes
stuff.
You know, he likes the podcast." And I go, "Great." And then there's like a bit of a pause, and I go back to doing my thing, getting ready to shower. And he goes, "So how much weight have you lost?" I go, "What? I don't know.
If anything, you gained.
I actually was like, that's what I go. I got kind of up a bit. And he goes, keep up the good work. And then I walked away and I go, oh, he doesn't know who I am. He just was, and he was fat. He was a big guy.
He said, I aspire to be you. You go, oh, a gay podcast. He goes, no, a guy who loses weight.
I guess he thought,
He put you up to tear you down.
I guess maybe part of me should have, because he's obviously on some sort of weight loss journey. So I should have been like, used to be 400 pounds, man. You can do it.
You can do it. That is
I
the
should
classic.
have. Yeah, I should have been like, you can do it, man.
Someone
But
goes up, they go, hey, what's up? It's you. You go, what? And they go, you, the guy who stood in front of me at the line and went,
you ate the last Twinkies.
Well, I was getting in, so before we get into it, the intro catch-up session, I was on, so I'm in Santa Barbara all weekend.
Oh yeah, how was that? I haven't seen you since then.
Yeah, I'm at a wedding, right? So, couple takeaways from the wedding, but more importantly, the United Airlines. You know, there's a reason why so many comics in the history of time end up airline specific, because you take these airlines and it's insane what's going on there. So because of COVID, United Airlines is probably one of the worst experiences of my life. And I say that every time I fly on their airline.
For me, it's American and United are by far the two worst airlines.
It's a fucking joke.
And I've never flown Spirit because everybody like, you got it, but
They're a bunch of hosers over there.
a bunch of hosers.
So this is what happens. You get there and it's a 5-hour flight or whatever. And it's a 4 and I had to take an connection. And they go, to buy food, you go, okay, I'll order some food. I'll get a drink. And they go, oh, you have to sign up for this app.
And you can't get the app in the air.
You can't get the app in the air. And then I go, I'll go on my phone and get the app or whatever. And then you try to go 15 minutes of internet, but the plug doesn't work, right? Mm-hmm. So they're like, well, if you can get it on your phone. I go, my plug doesn't work. They're like, you should have charged your phone. I go, well, yeah, I'm an hour late because my last United Airlines flight was delayed. So I get off my delayed flight, get to the place, try to buy food. You can't buy food. And then on top of that, there is this element of like, they're like, oh, I guess all the plugs are broken. You go, and imagine you went to a hotel and they go, oh, the outlets just aren't working. And they go, you know what happens? If you get in a taxi, you basically you can get a phone charge for your phone every time. And they're looking like I'm being unreasonable. Like
it's like the broken window thing where they just go, hey, I don't know. They're all broken.
But
nobody goes to fix them.
So is your plane broken? Am I not broken? The last place I want there to be malfunctions right and left. And what other place would you buy a service, rent a car, and you go, hey, all of the radio doesn't work and all this stuff. And they go, oh my, like unreasonable.
Yeah, they go, oh, shitty. And you go, what do you mean, oh, shitty?
And they're like, well, you should have known that you had to sign up for the app. I go, yeah, who knows that? It's a 4-hour flight. Especially, you go on a 4-hour flight, you're expecting to do some work and whatever. Mm-hmm. So that you can't get on the internet because that doesn't work. And then the plug to charge your stuff doesn't work. And they're looking at you like, oh, like I'm being a Karen.
Yeah, you're being like a total. They've been like, they're like, we've been through so much as flight attendants in the last year and a half, even though now
they're trying to take me to my chair because I want a working plug.
You probably like got to the hotel and you just watched like compilations of fucking flight attendants getting assaulted just to get one back. You go, yeah.
That's what they're thinking.
For the good guys.
I'm like, okay, well, why don't I give you my phone and you can charge it? Then I'll do it. And they're like, oh, we can't take your property. And I go, well, then have a working plug. Then find me another place where I can put my plug.
Yeah, and that place is Delta Airlines.
Yeah, it was too much. But takeaways from the wedding is...
Was that any point when you got hungry enough? Because I know how you get when your blood sugars drop, where you're like kind of you get panicky.
I was panicky. I was testing.
Were you gonna be like start finding someone who had the app and just give them cash to
That's
buy
what I
something?
did try to do. That's the first thing I tried to do. A couple people beside me, I tried to do it.
You
No
got
one
the
was
app?
interested. People were
Because they think there's something scam going on.
Well, I did
probably.
I was getting in confrontations all weekend. I had one win where I made a whole scene. So this lady comes on. She was like an old lady, right?
Was it when they go? Does anybody have any objections at the wedding?
I was loving the idea of objecting to the wedding. But so there's a lady on the plane. Older lady, and she can't find a thing for her bag. I eventually find a spot. She's coming on late behind me. We're all late because our other United connection, the pilot was lollygagging, I guess.
Yeah.
So basically there was a spot, but all you would have to do was move this bag. So I go to this old lady. I go, you know what? I'll help you find a place. So I take this lady's suitcase and then I move one other bag over, and this lady sitting down gets up and she goes, "Can you not move my bag?" And then I'm like, but because everyone was kind of watching at this point, I basically played dumb and made a whole scene. And I was like, yeah, you could probably put it here, but this woman says she doesn't want to move her bag over. She likes the spot that it's in. So, I mean, maybe we could store it at the front or whatever. I mean, this would be a good spot, but this lady's very against moving her bag. I'm not really sure. And at this point, like 40 people are watching. And then everyone on the plane's looking back at this lady, and she's like, "Oh, she doesn't want to move it?" I go, "I don't know. I asked her. She sort of got mad about it." Like, and this lady.
Yeah.
So
How old is she?
This lady, the older lady's 75,
Nice.
and the younger lady's 50.
Okay.
So the 50-year-old lady has a whole spotlight on her that she didn't want to move her.
Were you considering calling her a Karen, or you're like, that's overdone? We're not there yet. Are we not at the point of calling her a Karen?
I was making a whole stink, and then eventually she was bullied into moving her bag because there's such a spotlight on her. And when she did move her bag, it took 2 seconds, and my attitude was, "Oh, see, that wasn't really so hard, was it?"
And you could have just done it for her.
Yeah. So exactly right.
Yeah, you were kind of being the gentleman, be like, "Oh, let me rearrange this."
Every wedding, by the way, has its cliche guys, and it feels like if it doesn't have the cliche guys, people fit that role. So there's a legitimate
like a vacuum.
It's I think people within 5 minutes there's like a too drunk uncle who's walking around bumping into people. There's just like a baby walking, dancing on someone's shoes.
The passive aggressive girlfriend who's like basically going to everyone being like, "Oh, my ring, I'm up next."
There's
like,
the girl that's sort of too drunk and she's like a little sad that she should be married.
Yeah, she should be married, and she's like really putting it out there for everybody, like not to her boyfriend.
Yeah, I was loving the idea that you could rent that they came with the hall. So you rent a wedding hall and they're like, "Hey, do you want a drunk uncle?" It's like, we can have him say a couple slurs if you want to throw an extra 40 in. It's like, we send the baby out. Do you want us to send the toddler out to dance?
I love how in your world the slurs cost more instead of less.
Oh, that's what I was loving, the idea of
You want that uncle to be racist? It's gonna cost
me
you.
and Ian Finance were dying at the idea of fucking the edgelord comic doing the corporate, and he's like, and we have tiers of blackface paint that I could put on. Do you want a turban? That's an option. Like sending them the package for you to do a
like
corporate,
the super professional edgelord.
yeah. And then he cancels the gig, and he's like, "I am gonna have to charge you for the paint that I did use. That is the expensive blackface paint." But I was loving. My favorite thing was when
open bar.
If you're at a wedding with a chick and she's being annoying, calling her wedding guestzilla. Just keep calling her wedding guestzilla. Santa Barbara, by the way, is and which I thought I was going to San Diego. So I've been telling
Ryan was the whole
I've been telling people for 3
whole
weeks.
time. Ryan's like, going to San Diego.
Yeah, my chick came out and she's like, and everyone's like, "Oh, you're going to San Diego tomorrow." And he's like, "Did you tell everyone we're going to San Diego?" I go, "Maybe."
Yeah, that's
And the Santa Barbara is like a time capsule to 40 years ago, not 40 years ago, like early 2000s. So everyone dresses like early 2000s.
Okay.
And it's the whole vibe, right?
It's all surfers and stuff.
Surfers, but no one's updated. And one of the things that was interesting to me is when I went to I went to like a reggae bar, kind of reminded me of my roots, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And then a lot of these people there, their attitude in places like that is very, instead of being like, "Sir, can you put your mask on?" Their attitude is way more, "Sorry, dude. Like if you're gonna be in the line, you got to do it," which makes you go, "Okay."
Uncle Sam wants you fucking. We gotta.
Correct.
We don't want to do this.
And it was interesting because the same way that we've been talking about how, with, a lot of the, black and brown people don't want to get vaccinated and all that stuff. It's like all of these people have lost the fucking San Barbara hippies. They've lost the California hippies, the Grateful Dead hippies, like fucking black dudes. They've lost so many people in all of their.
They lost all the freedom people.
They lost all the
hypocrisy
freedom people.
Sorry, I can't too early for that.
We can't. It's too early for more hypocrisy, Socrates. But the SoCal hippies were all against this shit. And then my last takeaway, which was, because I know we have a lot of fans that I think our main demographic probably is like 20 to 40. So it is kind of all in that pocket, but probably a half under 30 or whatever. And it was interesting because there's a lot of, people there that were, 25, 26, 27. And it did remind me that.
This is at the wedding.
At the wedding.
Yeah.
And you can tell that everyone's having sort of, especially as some people get married earlier, so many people in their like 20s, around 25, 26, I think panic really starts to hit people in their 20s. And I think that 25 to 30 is the worst period for everyone because up until that point, it's kind of like, all of your decisions don't seem that important. And then when you hit 25, it's like, that's when people start getting married. That's when people start having
For sure,
kids.
the relativity thing where you go...
Yeah. Relativity really
everybody's
hits you.
just kind of a child until
you've
25.
been done college for a few years, or if you've done high school for whatever amount of years. If you're not, and you start...
It's like when your friends stop like quitting drugs and like, you have that first friend who's like, I'm going sober now. And you're like...
Yeah.
Huh.
And you really...
You're like, I'm going to drink more if anything. And you go,
People start wanting to tick off the boxes too, right? Because it's almost a rush to get life done. 25 to 30 really feels like a rush for people to get life done. I think
people have this idea that it's like a bit of a musical chairs thing where there's going to run out of chairs and you're going to be left standing.
Yeah.
But that's not the case at all. But I think people think that.
They do think that. And they also think... And they're right to think that because everyone in your life is kind of saying to you, when you're 25, the big conversation from everyone is very much, like when you get married, like, are you thinking about having kids? Who you with? What do you do for a living? Like, what do you want to do for your life? It's all of that, right? And then by 30, no one does that anymore. Also, you've had in your friend group a few of the people that were happily married or getting divorced.
Yeah.
Your friend that had this job, there's like they were popping off. They came out of college, they had this big job. Now they're making 100K and they're 26, and it seems like they're killing it. Now they're making 130 and they're 30, and they're you don't really hear from them too much anymore about it. They're like, I just go to work. It's the sort of the honeymoon of anyone that's, specifically fast-tracked is kind of over.
Yeah, everybody starts catching up and...
Yeah. Well, as anyone that kind of started really into their career at 21, around 30, it's like they've been doing it for 9 years. Any sort of spark of that's worn off. They're just in the groove now.
There's no excitement anymore.
And I really think at 25, people get together and they talk about what your job is, what your plans, this is what I want to do. By 30-ish, I think really, I have friends that, if I get together with my old friends, some people are really successful, some people aren't. No one really talks about it.
No. It's exactly.
You talk about other shit.
Yeah, you talk about literally anything.
You might talk
else.
about your chicks and stuff like that, which has no bearing on, how good people are doing.
No.
And even then you might not, you might even talk about that stuff that much. So I think that 25 to 30 is the hardest part. And I think that if you are 25 to 30, I feel like knowing that it kind of feels like, it just, it's like this forever. Like I'm in this fucking thing. It wears off.
It does wear off. No, that is very accurate.
30 is a liberating age.
Yeah.
You kind of are like, whatever you're doing. If you were doing something you don't like, it's a little bit like...
I mean, if you're still trying to finish that college degree at 30, that undergrad, and you go, this is the year. You're like a real Van Wilder vibes. Maybe 30 is not going to feel so good, but...
Yeah.
But for the most part, yeah.
You go 30. What's the difference of now and 39? What's the difference between like 24 and 30? It's like a life enormous.
A lot, yeah. Well, literally the percentage of your life is greater.
So I think I think with a lot of 25 to 30-year-olds, they're in very it's a very hectic mental time. You're just constantly at war with your own brain.
What was the age of the people
Something like
married?
that, 26 or something.
Both of them, same age?
Yeah. So moving on from the wedding,
Moving on and moving out.
Yeah. This is probably, I got some pretty good stuff this week, and there's like so much to go through, but this is diversity spaces. So Germany, they reserve. So they've gone like full to prove that we're not, bad.
Yeah.
Always
Go,
right.
hey, remember that Holocaust thing?
Yeah. So they're pretty on the
Make it up for it.
And they're pretty on the forefront, right?
Yeah.
But at the Boyscast, some of our favorite things for the boys is the intersectional car crashes of who's who's bigger, who's better, right?
Yep.
So diversity spaces. Germany reserves Germany, like some lots there, they've reserved parking spots for LGBT community and immigrants. So how there used to be wheelchair spaces.
Yeah, it is interesting the kind of progression is because at first they go, you know what, disabled people. Someone saw a disabled person trudging through a parking lot, and they go, you know what, we should get them close.
That guy might be good with.
We should get them closer to the entrance, right? And then someone saw some pregnant lady, walking, and they go, oh, you know what? She's pregnant. She's struggling to get in. Let's get her.
Let's get
her a spot. And then now literally they're just treating like immigrant or like a gay person as like a disabled person.
Well, their sort of argument, when they go through it, the people that say it, in their mind, these people are just getting attacked right and left,
yes.
right?
And the way to help them is to get them prime parking spots.
So they can get to the door quicker, because if they have to walk from the back of the parking lot, they're going to get gay bashed, right?
That's
yeah, it is so funny.
You think they did an analysis? They go, look, 99.7% of all the gay bashing done in this garage happens in that back corner.
Yeah.
So we got to get them away from there.
I would have thought that fat people were on the come up quicker. You know what I mean?
No,
but they're
next.
There's also so much funny parts about it. Just the first sentence is a car park in Germany decided to show its support for the LGBTQ community and migrants by painting rainbow flag on one of its walls and reserving the parking spots. And there's this was the car park doing it, but the reason I said the authorities is because all of the mayors of whatever the politicians have been coming out and kind of saying this is like the blueprint for what we should be doing.
Yep.
But the funniest part to me is like let's say, for example, you take the spot, you take your gay spot. How can they confirm?
Well, for sure. Like you get the knock on the window.
You have to have a gay star.
Put your window down. And it goes,
Hello?
license and registration, please. And you show them your stuff and go, you're parked in a gay spot, son.
Yeah.
And then you've got to think fast. You go, son? What do you mean, son? Don't assume.
Oh yeah.
You gotta be really quick on your feet with this stuff. You go, son.
The guy in a wheelchair,
Okay, now question. This is a bit of a callback to a previous episode. Can you say you're demi-romantic?
That's a big question.
Can you be like, yo, I'm fucking demi?
Yeah. Oh my God. That's so sorry. You thought I was kicked out of the space. I don't know. Oh my God. You don't know that I'm demi-romantic. I'm demi. But a guy in a wheelchair, he's getting taken out of the car, put in the wheelchair, and then the parking attendant coming up. You better fucking have sucked a dick, pal.
I love the idea.
You have to have on your phone a picture of you smooching a dude.
Yeah, I like getting a ticket for not being gay enough. This really reminds me of I read this. I go, this is going to be Canada in not that long. We go, oh, I fucking out on the weekend. I got a $85 ticket. What for? Not being gay enough.
Would you be in trouble for if they said hey sir, this is a gay spot, not the really gay spots over there. These are the gay spots. The flamboyantly really gay is over the.
The funniest part too is you go some new family that just arrived from Afghanistan. You go, yeah, go park in the rainbow spot there. And they're like, what?
Well, we're immigrants too, so do we get this?
Yeah,
that would be so great. An old man in a cane and and a pregnant woman walking from the back and so long, suckers. This is the immigrant spot.
It's funny what they think immigrants problems are. The hierarchy of immigrant problems.
Yeah.
They're seriously we have 9 million problems that are ahead of getting prime parking spots.
Yeah.
First off, we don't have a car because we just moved here and we're displaced from Afghanistan. We have $10.
Yeah.
So really, car's not in our future.
But when you do get a car,
we got
you. Fuck yeah! The guy in the person coming through pregnant, and you're getting out of there because you immigrated from Canada in the LGBT part.
Yeah, that better be a surrogate baby. That better not be a man's baby.
That would also 90% of girls identify as bi, right?
Yeah.
So it's how 90% of girls, especially in college. So it's basically like a college girl parking spot. Parking spots for college girls.
College girls and gender studies.
Well, authorities hoped this would earn them praise for the act. Locals have called them out for alienating other groups. But the city councillor, Thomas Marlock, said there is nothing more important than setting an example of tolerance. Which I think that does a good job of explaining the point of view of these people, that there is nothing more important
than
for example, a pregnant lady getting to not having to walk through an entire parking lot. Well, that's not as important as us setting an example verbally.
Yes.
With some bullshit that doesn't help.
But
anyone.
also,
gays are in shape too.
I know. Well, some of them are. But giving like like saying, hey, everybody, here's a parking lot. Just take whatever parking spot that's available is not intolerant.
Yeah.
It's like you're assuming when you say this is tolerance, you go, so what is intolerance in parking? Just general parking?
Dude, they legitimately think these people are just getting attacked right now. Their argument has to be.
One thing I will say is surprising is that it was a dude whose idea this was.
You think this is a girl idea? I mean, it's a guy that's, pandering to women, I guess.
This is pretty I guess it's a true. He's just probably a German Trudeau type.
But it's interesting that, when all these practices and you kind of, there's such like people brought up the idea that everyone that claims to be against, kind of authoritarianism, they're always pushing these authoritarian policies or whatever. Mm-hmm. And it's funny because we were reading this article about China, and it's so funny, the idea that they're doing the exact same thing over there, but just for different ideals. Mm-hmm. And most people would look at, so we briefly mentioned this, but it's official and we're going to talk about it. So China bans video games for effeminate males. Basically, in their thing, a leaked memo revealed Beijing no longer views video games as entertainment, but instead as a form of art that is responsible for promoting the correct values and understanding a history and culture. But they basically said they're banning any video games that have any effeminate males.
Remember too, where like
Chads only.
Every chick in a video game had just like huge cans, and then girls were like, "Hey, that's all women aren't like that." And then they made them, and now they're like, "All right."
Well, China's going back to the cans.
Back to the cans.
So, but they're saying they're going, going to all these people. It's kind of like here, where if you turn on any channel, they're kind of saying like there should be more dudes in dresses.
Yep.
And China is saying like no more dudes in dresses.
Thank you.
But it's legitimately the exact opposite. And they were saying that, but it's funny to watch these things and well, the principle only applies when it applies to my value structure. Mm-hmm. And I think that's how so many people see this.
The one thing too with the China thing is like, at least they're a little more consistent than the Germany thing. The Germany thing, they're just doing the shit on the fly. They're like, oh, like whatever, gay fucking parking spots. Whereas in China, this kind of fits in with, they're like, yeah, we have a model of how we're trying to plan this society. Stuff deviates.
Well, they have a model of how they want to plan this society.
They're trying to course correct.
I see what you're saying. Yeah, there is.
Well, they've had a longer track record of, I guess, this.
But they do still. They both have a model of how they want to see society. Mm-hmm. One is, slightly more traditional, and the other is, I guess, it's reactionary in the sense it's like our model of how we see society is we want just no more dudes.
No more dudes. What do you think? In China, their stance would be on gay parking spots.
They would say only parking spots for Chads.
Chad
so China, it's like if you're a Chad, you get a free parking spot. If you go to the front, like this is what they're saying. There's no simps in video games. So basically they go, you can't be in the video game if, for example, you're just like if let's say there's a couple that are in a relationship and you're pretending to be the friend, but you're actually in love with her, you're out. You can't be in the video game. But if you actually do just go steal the guy's girlfriend like a Chad,
like Grand Theft Auto style.
Now you're allowed to be in the video game anymore. Like if you smashed, you're allowed to be in if you smashed.
No, it's so funny too. I'm like, they're talking, we're banning gay relationships from video games. I'm like, man, I'm so out of the loop of video games. I'm like, there's gay relationships in video games now? I was like, I haven't played video games in probably 10, 15 years.
I'm sure.
I don't know.
Well, it's the exact opposite of going here. It's like they're censoring all the stuff they don't like. Well, there's probably all sorts of things, right? So, I mean, that was the original person that they pissed off. It's like kind of the same thing where we're talking about now, where they're pissing off, the California hippies they're losing.
Yeah.
It's even their original group that they lost was the gamers.
Yeah.
And because if you're just some
The gamers who wanted the
politician-
cans.
Yeah.
The gamers wanted the cans.
Gamers wanted
and
the
then they go,
cans.
you've had enough cans.
And if
No
you're
more cans.
Yeah, if you're not paying attention, you don't realize how big, these groups actually come. They're like unions almost. Not unions, but they're like, not even voting blocks is the right word. But yeah, they do
Hysterical
wield
mobs.
social power.
Yeah, absolutely.
Because they're united. They're united, right? So
Yeah.
there is some element of like just losing all these big groups. They're like groups have, their individual influence in certain ways, right? But if you look at how much people would be for all of everything they're doing if you just switched the things that they're banning. Also,
like making cans mandatory.
They actually did make. That's one of the things they said. But it's funny to think of, like, if you were going to be in the video, right? Like if me and you were
in the game.
Yeah. I like the idea of them having like a panel of just Chinese bros, like deciding whether you're fucking masculine
Man, that
enough.
fucking. I actually was reading
Just
this
some
article,
fucking dogs from China.
and I'm like, how many people work in the censorship industry in China?
Oh, so many.
That must be one of the biggest industries in the whole country is just censorship.
Yeah. It is. It's like a
crazy.
field if you go to college there, to be a censor.
You gotta fucking watch everything, play every game, like watch every website.
But I will say to you, not only do we have our actual censorship industry, the media, people, the freelance censorship here, like it kind of is an industry here too. Mm-hmm. It's legit.
But not government. It's not to that degree.
Well, we have government censors as well, but we also have the private sector of censors.
Karens, if you will.
The panel of Chinese bros just there being like, I don't know, his posture is not that masculine. Which, by the way, there is I feel like the one thing this is the thing. People in the chat sometimes will comment and be, call me feminine and stuff like this. And this is what they don't realize. And the Chinese bros might get me. They don't.
I mean, Ryan Long, the video game's been banned in China, but go on.
No, I wouldn't be though. That's the thing. These people don't get. Unlike Dane, I'm feminine in the way that Mick Jagger's feminine. I'm rock and roll feminine. It's a very different, which is actually pussy crusher feminine.
Pussy crusher feminine.
That's the thing. These people don't realize
basically
that.
what you're saying is China just needs to
I'm
get
like
to
Prince.
know you a
I'm
little
Mick Jagger.
better. And once they did, they'd be like, "Oh, this guy's actually crushing
Dude,
it."
We
We want more Chinese people to be like this guy.
me and my legend friends, Danny doesn't know what I was saying. Instead of the slut walk, the dudes just have a legend walk. I think we were saying
It's
that.
more of a strut.
The fucking legend strut. But people don't get that. Like it is kind of an interesting culture, like band culture or whatever, because it is a little bit flamboyant and all that stuff. But at the same time, it is kind of a very masculine culture. Mm-hmm. It's sort of an interesting duality.
Yes.
And a lot of arts cultures are like that. But you would look at that and you go, oh, Prince is gay. If you knew Prince, you go, that motherfucker ain't gay.
No.
That guy's more of a man than you'll fucking ever be.
Well,
Like
they have a different kind of
Like the singer
band
of fucking
culture.
Judas Priest isn't gay. Like, oh, Elton John's gay.
I was gonna say, I'm like,
Yeah, he's gay.
that guy is gay, right?
Well, he's kind of funny because he basically
Was that Rob Halford?
started wearing all the leather
Yeah.
stuff, yeah, and then all the kind of like metalhead guys started dressing like gay guys.
like leather daddies.
Yeah, well, I don't know if which came first. I think a lot of people like that narrative. It's probably a little bit of both, but basically,
A bit
I don't
of an
know
overlap.
I don't know if a gay guy made gay cool for metalheads or a gay guy started making metal gay.
So what are the kids in China going to masturbate to if they only have like 3 hours a day? Because they only have 3 hours a day.
They have
play
to
the
crank
game.
one out quick.
Well, there's no cans anymore.
Well, this is the can-oriented line. They said characters must have a clear gender and storylines are prohibited from having blurred moral boundaries. So when you say characters must have a clear gender, boobs. Like,
Boobs,
what
there you
else
go.
could that possibly mean?
That's basically it. Long hair and boobs.
Well, that's kind of what that means. So it's like, this is China's policy is very like what me and my friends in like the film world used to joke about. We used to say that the old like key grips. You ever heard the old key grip jokes? They can be sort of extrapolated to anything, but it's like, what do you call a key grip with how do you know that a key grip just got laid?
How?
2 clean fingers. It's like gross jokes,
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
But we used to say the policy on set was all you need to know is no gay shit, no fat chicks, and keep them cold. You go. So this is what China's sort of policy is. They're saying for their video games, they go, no gay shit, no fat chicks, no small tits,
No small
keep them
tits.
cold.
Sounds like they're fucking
Beers have to be cold.
China's for the boys.
China's kind of.
I wonder if
no men doing laundry in the video game.
I wonder if this podcast has any listeners in China.
I wonder.
If we're allowed.
Yeah, the clear gender, they definitely mean titties. That's no question. And I think they make the characters have to do like a motorboat test. So they have another character. They make them bring in a life-size version of the character, and then the Chinese censor bros.
Censor bros.
They kind of come up and they go, "Brum." They go,
Yeah.
I'd like to see them a little bigger. And
They
come back.
just measure like the depth on their head to see how far deep they can get their head in there.
Yeah.
It's like anything past the ear and we're good to go.
Me and Paul used to always love that. It's like if you're going to a strip club or whatever scenario, you're motorboating titties and someone else is motorboating titties, and you have to give yourself the boating nod. The boater's nod. And yeah.
Like out on the water.
Yeah, it's out on the water. The boater's nod from motorboating. So they said they were told these with the wrong value orientation, pornography and violence must be outed. So unfortunately, titties are kind of back out because they don't like anything to pornography.
No.
And technology developers were briefed to firmly boycott any ill cultures such as money worshipping, effeminate males, and boys' love. So to me, that just sounded anti-Semitic, a bit of a dog whistle where they said
The money and the boys love.
no, they're banning money worshippers.
Money worshippers.
Doesn't that feel a tad?
Yeah, I mean, they like fucking.
If you go, I liked all the people there except for the few money worshippers.
the money worshippers.
And you point to your nose.
It is weird because they are a very like consumer culture there. They're all into like status and buying just fucking dumbass shit that's expensive.
Crazy rich Asians.
Yeah, exactly. But even in China.
Well, they think that's a bad thing, but that's all part of kind of it boils down to places like that where everyone has their own, they always kind of need their religion that you have to be beholden to. Mm-hmm. And here that religion is, social justice or whatever.
Yeah.
And there the religion is the state.
Yeah, it's the Communist Party.
Yeah, exactly. So if to be honest, like that is one of those, why there, there's a lot of people that talk about whether or not China is really like the biggest threat to US. And I've heard kind of compelling arguments on both sides.
Yeah.
I would say that but there is people like to, even on both sides, people like to glorify other cultures to some degree, like they have it all together, but they do have a lot of their own problems. But one of the big things that they're dealing with is when, those tech companies get too big and they're censoring them and all that stuff. A lot of it is just straight up the government, like showing those elites that who's boss.
100%. Because it's not like, they have all and a lot of those companies all like work with the military and all that stuff. They're all intertwined, like
They're all intertwined
pretty heavily, and they all work for, like, they're letting you be a billionaire. Like they're like
they want you to.
Whereas in
know
America,
that.
you can be a billionaire in spite of the government,
and then tell the government to fuck himself, right?
Yeah, exactly, like Elon Musk style, or like tells the SEC to suck his dick and all that stuff. Whereas they're
No
like,
way.
They're like no. They're like we're kind of a tandem. If
They'll bring
will.
you in and be like. They bring you in with the 19 government officials and they go, you mentioned sucking dick and you said we'd be doing it to you. Well, we're going to leave here today and one of us is getting our dick sucked. Who do you think that's going to be, pal?
Here's a chapstick.
Alibaba.
Yeah.
And then they said over 30,000 gamer accounts have been removed and 96,000 silenced over rule violations. So again, it's like the same shit. They're removing accounts and they remove your accounts. Like, for example, if you're playing like a girl, not taking chances in the video game.
No.
If you're too cautious, things like that. If you're playing like a strategy game and you spend way too much time like making food as opposed to
Just puttering around, not really getting much done, but really wasting time.
if you're afraid of confrontation, for example.
Yeah.
Puttering around, afraid of confrontation. That's one thing.
Not on time for anything.
Yeah.
Just regular stuff.
Yeah, if you show up.
Just regular unmanly
You take
traits.
too much time like picking your character and getting it ready.
You're obsessed with your avatar, but not of completing anything in the game. You know,
If you spend too much time.
Chick stuff.
Yeah. Well, if you do that, that's the kind of shit that gets your account taken away. They said rule breachers include improper political remarks, but obviously their improper political remarks is just a different version than here.
Yeah.
Superstition, rumor, pornography, vulgar content, cyberbullying, privacy speech, and discriminatory comments. So exact same here with just different morals. You know, Western here, it's every superhero has to
It
wear
is
a dress.
crazy though, because like you really know that in China, like someone's listening to everything in every video game. Like that really is.
That is wild.
Like it is really getting like. I feel like you could. I'm sure you can get slide stuff by, but not to the extent where like I'm sure people drop like people say crazy shit on like Xbox Live and then someone reports them who like was in it versus like a moderator. Whereas there it's like the moderator is or whatever AI or whatever they're using is the one who's actually like catching it.
Yeah, there's actually a guy sitting there with a toga on. Just crushing beers.
And just listening. He has like fucking headset in each ear. Just
yeah, and he's getting blown.
Well, they got so many people. They got to put him to work somehow.
Yeah,
Right? They got tons of fucking people.
So it was kind of making me laugh the idea that this stuff's kind of like accidentally for the boys, which I wanted to do a segment. Remember that song? Accidentally in love. So this is when someone does something that's supposed to be social justice, but it's accidentally for boys.
This is that. I like one of the things I was reading in the thing where they go, authorities in state media have repeatedly lashed out at male stars who wear heavy makeup and project a feminine image, saying Chinese boys should become more manly.
Well, that's because that's why they're banning like the boy bands and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Which is not to be confused with, again, me and Prince.
But also,
me and Mick Jagger, me and Steve Tyler. Guys, cool, masculine guys.
but also
us.
like that level of self-awareness where they go, yeah, our dudes kind of do look like our chicks. So it's like, I mean, like I know people make fun of us about that, but it is kind of true. So
Yeah.
why are we giving these people more ammo?
That's true.
Let's really differentiate them.
But the
do you think how far away do you think they are from mandatory breast implants for all women above like 16?
I would say that they've discussed it at the very least.
It's that conversation has happened where you go, look, let's give every girl fucking double D's.
And they have a moment of like, are you thinking what I'm thinking?
And they're thinking, but they're holding breast implants. They're like squeezing the little squeeze things.
Yeah, they're so for the boys that they have like breast implants for their stress balls.
I went to a party with my girl. Her friend was like a surgeon or whatever, and he's a plastic surgeon, and he had all over his apartment fucking breast implants.
That's pretty funny that he's just putting it out.
He
That
just
is
has them
ass
on,
man
like on
styles.
his total ass man, but on his coffee table. We should maybe get some for the fucking
That's such a funny thing
for
to
the
have.
studio. He had them like, and they're just like he had like all over his coffee table, just breast implants.
Nice. But my actual one that I was going to say, accidentally for boys, is so Kacey Musgrove basically went on SNL and then she did her performance naked with a guitar, right? Mm-hmm. And then The Cut released this article being like, if you're looking for a Halloween costume, if you're already panicking about what to wear for Halloween, singer Kacey Musgrove has some sage advice. Don't wear anything at all. Well, except for cowboy boots. Can't give away that you're already panicking. So can't give away the feet for free. So that's what they said. They don't want you to see the feet. But so for Halloween, they're saying, to this, big woman icon.
Yeah, I don't know who she is. I never even
It doesn't matter who she is.
The funny thing is, I read it and they go, she was doing ode to Jenny from Forrest Gump. And you're like, way more people know who Jenny is from Forrest Gump than fucking Kacey Musgrove.
Right, so why not just say that?
Why not say it's Jenny from Forrest Gump?
But the bottom line is...
And where was this fucking costume 20 years ago?
The Cut, for women empowerment reasons, is telling girls, here's an idea, go naked for Halloween.
Yeah.
So they're saying...
I would love to be the editor. The girl brings, she goes, here's the article I'm going to publish. She goes, I'm going to recommend that this year's Halloween costume for women is go naked. And I'll be like, what the fuck are you talking about? Yeah. What do you mean? And they go, yeah, we're going to recommend they go naked.
We might want that, see that on college campus. And, this is a part of our efforts for feminism.
Yeah, like this sounds like more like a tweet. Do you not have any other article ideas?
I think they got their idea from Necro. When I die, bury me between a pair of tits. You remember that one?
And what? So would you just have to sit down the whole time?
Yeah.
Were you on an electric scooter? Where you're just like...
No, you're out there. You're putting it out there. Your tits are out at the bar. This is the recommendation.
And you're
from the
carrying
cuts.
around an acoustic guitar.
That's
So it's like a pretty expensive costume.
I'd say that's optional at this point.
It's a pretty expensive costume. It's like all the really like, so it's like cowboy boots, cowboy hat, acoustic guitar. That's like a $500 costume.
And this is a recommendation, non-ironically, to recreate Kacey Musgraves' performances. All you need is cowboy boots, a guitar, which is optional. And they said the attitude of a scorned lover, maybe some SPF if you're going to be out in the sun. So that's the recommendation.
Yeah. I love how they go, it's optional for the guitar.
Well, basically, girls at Halloween have always sort of been like, let me do a slutty character of any, obviously, right?
Right.
So it's like, why not cut to the chase?
Just be naked.
Oh, yeah. Here you go.
Why don't you say I'll go as Eve?
Yo, hairy clits. Them skits, that shit. Oh, fuck, what was it? Do you not remember Necro?
No.
So Necro was this rapper that he was kind of like, he had all these songs about like pretty funny songs like Dead Body Disposal, Tell Me What to Do After Your Foes Are Killed, and then he would go right all through how to dispose of a body with really funny stuff, and he'd be like, put the bag in the trash bag, and he's like, and even a nosy bitch wouldn't open it up and make no sense. He has like all these,
okay.
But then he did this album called The Sexorcist, and all of his raps were about being like orgies and stuff like that, right? With the lines that me and my buddies used to always say, we go, hairy clits. That shit's some scary shit. When I die, bury me between a pair of tits. That's probably one of the best rap lyrics ever written. Anytime you like hook up with a girl that was like hair, you come back, you just, the boys knew, you go, let me just say this, them shit's some scary shit. How was it shaved? All I gonna say is when I die, bury me between a pair of tits. Them shit's some scary shit. When I die, bury me between a pair of tits.
White guy? He might have to be a white guy.
Yeah, he was a white guy.
Only a white guy would talk about just murdering and actual proper body disposal.
Yeah, well, it was kind of like that song that was like the rules of being a drug dealer or whatever.
Yeah,
Remember that one?
Biggie? Like the 10 crack commandments?
It was like that a little bit, but he would do songs like that was very like in detail, but it was always really funny. But the Sexorcist era of Necro is so funny. It was like 9 out of 10 lines are about his dick being too big. And then,
did he wear makeup? Like, did he had a costume?
No. He was like, looked like Fat Joe, sort of.
Oh, okay. I was picturing
Fat Joe sort of situation. And he would do videos, like he was one of the original guys to do the videos where it wouldn't be released on YouTube and the girls would actually be naked and all that sort of stuff.
Oh.
So finally, this is caught up.
Nice.
And girls,
by the way, this is I just can't get over how chick of a idea this is to say, like, for Halloween, spend all this money, be naked.
Yeah.
Here's the guy version of this article. It goes, hey, here's a hot Halloween tip.
Dick out.
No, it's fucking buy a tracksuit. You're one of the guys from Squid Game. $12.
You're just saying it's crappy.
No, it's a better costume. And
that's your point.
And it's not spending you're not breaking the bank, and you're not walking around naked like a psycho.
See, Danny wouldn't be disagreeing with the China censors because I'm all for the naked costume.
Yeah, until there's a fucking bunch of gross chicks, and then you're like, can we get them a fucking tarp?
No fat chicks, no gay shit. Keep them cold, Danny. I don't know if you've been listening.
Well, I imagine the cut doesn't abide by the no fat chicks, no gay shit, keep them cold.
That's the thing, though. They're accidentally for the boys.
Accidentally for the boys.
So in Canada, one of my favorite, a big joke was staying to any girl. So people in America might not know this, but there was a celebrity singer. Her name was Rita McNeil. He's already making Danny chuckle because he knows.
She was like really the butt of jokes in my childhood.
She was this really fat singer, and she was the butt of all jokes. Rita McNeil, everyone used to say, eat a big meal.
Oh, yeah.
It went on and on and on, right? Remember we used to know there was an old comic that was like a fucking old like road dog from Canada. I remember the first comedy show I ever went to. He goes, Canadian entertainers, we don't make that much money. We're lucky if we got 3 square meals a day. I don't know how Rita McNeil got so big. It was a hot topic, the Rita McNeil. So we used to always go to girls and be like, you're dressed up as Rita McNeil in a fairy suit? Rita McNeil dressed up like a princess. Got it. Yeah. You always accuse them of their costume being Rita McNeil dressed up in the costume. Another thing, this is my boy Dan from university. We used to always go, the way to get a free meal is you walk up to any girl while she's eating at a restaurant and you go, eating for 2 tonight, are we? And then she cries, and then you eat the rest of her meal.
Plus, it tastes a little better because she seasoned it with her sadness.
She seasoned it with her sadness. So you always accuse girls of eating for two, and then when they go, and then you finish their meal for them.
Yeah, it's good. Good little life hack.
They're getting a little less for the boys with their last comic. They say, bonus points if you shave your eyebrows, wear a wedding dress, and or run alongside a very fast horse. So this is another...
Back to Forrest Gump.
They're back to Forrest Gump.
Yeah, they're off fucking SNL.
Yeah, don't shave your eyebrows, though. Remember when that was like the hot style for girls?
No.
You don't... This was a big thing, especially where I came from. There were plenty of girls, they shave their eyebrows, and then they draw on
the draw. I thought you were saying shaving.
Which is just
shaving
so
and not,
insane.
Yeah, that's one of my...
It's one of the worst styles
If
of all
I ever
time.
see you do that, I just assume you have a crippling methamphetamine addiction.
But it was... I would say there would be 10% of girls in my high school were doing that shit. It was a hot style. Well, it's a little urban.
It was more like an old... Yeah, maybe. I don't know.
I don't know if you know this, but I got caught up in it, and I started doing that with my pubes.
You drew them back on?
Yeah, I drew them back on curlier.
What color?
I drew a bigger bush. Well, obviously, fucking jet black.
Just a really...
Oh, I like to look like I like to look like an old man whose hair went gray and he dyes it just shoe polish.
Yeah. Just like where you go, that's a bad dye job.
So this is what they said. Should you prefer your Halloween costumes to have a more clothes and communism? So if you want a little more communism, they recommend doing Grimes reading the Communist Manifesto. So that's their Halloween costumes, is holding a Communist Manifesto or nude.
Totally naked. And the next article from Cut is going to be like, this Halloween had the worst amount of sexual assaults.
Yeah.
Wonder why that is.
The next thing is like, we sort of made a mistake there telling every girl to show up fucking tits out naked.
Totally naked in high alcohol environments. There'd be a lot of chicks who are getting the fucking honky tonk man treatment, though. That fucking guitar pulled away from them and just smashed over their backs.
Yeah. Just to take a quick second here to shout out to the sponsor. First sponsor of this episode, Raycon headphones. Now, I wore these all weekend where I was having the worst experience of my life on United Airlines, and it was a beacon of light in the monstrosity that was my airport. Because they last for a long time. I didn't even have to charge them the whole trip. So you can't always control the vibes, but you can control the vibes in your head with a pair of Raycon wireless earbuds in your ears. So whether you're cranking Necro, Dead Body Disposal, tell you what to do after your foes are killed.
With the hairy clit.
Whether you use them to pump it up, wind down, work or work out, Raycons are my go-to for on-the-go audio. And the new everyday earbuds feel and sound now better than ever with improved rubber, oil, look and feel. Again, it is a nice feel in the ear. It was comfortable all week. A lot of headphones will start to make your ears hurt after you got them in for 5 hours or so. And optimized gel tips for the perfect in-ear fit. These are impressive before you even start the listening. You'll get 3 new sound profiles and make sure everything you're listening to sounds its best with just the right amount of bass. There's 3 modes. The pure mode, that's for podcasting, blues, instrumental. So they have different modes: balance mode, bass mode, and there's a new awareness mode when you need to listen to surround sound. So depending on what you're listening to and whether or not you need to hear the outside noise, there's a bunch of different modes. Raycons offer 8 hours of playtime and 32 hours of battery life. There's also a built-in mic, and you can take your calls on your earbuds at the press of a button, which is a huge function. They start at half the price of other premium audio brands, and they sound just as good. And Raycons come with a 45-day happiness guarantee. So if you do want to try it and you're not certain, call right now. Listeners at the Boyscast will get 15% off the Raycon order, and they're already cheap, so this is a good deal. Buy Raycon at raycon.com/boyscast. That's raycon.com/boyscast. Now, I want to do this quick video.
And then you also told me, as you can hear the chants from the crowd, let's go, Brandon. Brandon, you told me you were going to kind of hang back those first 2 stages and just watch and learn. What did you learn that helped you there in those closing laps?
Oh my God, it was
Which, by the way, everybody was like, it's obviously a really funny thing, but I guess like, cause I watched it, I was at like a fucking bar or whatever. And then I saw it was like on Twitter and then I couldn't quite hear it. And I go like, well, I don't get what they're saying. They're saying, let's go Brandon. Cause let's go Brandon was trending.
You thought it was that.
And I kind of thought, and then
You're like the press.
And no. And then I listened to it again. I'm curious if she was like really quick on her feet or just her brain just told her that was let's go Brandon, like, and she just didn't like hear fuck Joe Biden and just was like let's go Brandon.
Yeah,
it's funny because he's kind of like, you can tell he can hear him as it's fuck Joe Biden, and because they're asking, he's like,
not an idiot.
He's like the line the line changing in
The chant, it is so funny that anywhere, you know, the for years it was the fuck Trump chant, now it's the Trump. But can you imagine like the opposite where it's like fuck Trump, and someone comes up, they're like, they're here and they're all chanting, good luck, Chuck. So,
good luck, Chuck.
But it's just so funny. Like, I don't know if that's an honest mistake, but if it's not, it's like,
weird
these
because
people have no shame.
sports has like delays for this exact reason, because there's many other sports things where it mostly goes to the refs, but like, you know, you go to like a Eagles game or like Philly or, you know, notoriously like raucous crowds, and they'll be like fuck the refs, and like, you know, that can't be on NBC, so they have like a way of just kind of silencing it. It happens all the time. Like, dude, if you ever watch the NBA, like you'll just be listening and then it just goes silent for a second,
And that's why,
because some player just goes get the fuck off of me, and they just bleep it, and then they just move
and they
on.
have the 5-second button or whatever.
Exactly, they have the 5-second button. So it was weird that NBC, like, they just let it go.
Yeah, it's like they almost were
I guess-
that stupid.
Like, just, yeah, I guess. Or someone in the fucking, because, you know, maybe the NASCAR crew, because obviously NASCAR is pretty fucking conservative. Maybe the crew who works the NASCAR is kind of like, also.
Let's get it out
They
there.
go, like, someone goes, hey, let me hit, and it goes, not so fast.
Let's go. It's
Not so fast.
Let's go, Brandon.
Yeah, let's go, Brandon. Let's let this go for a bit.
So I was going through every once in a while, like I go through these the Reddits that have the first person story accounts, but the polyamory ones are like so funny, right?
Insane.
So basically, because it kind of is the point that these groups exist is all like girls. Kind of what I always say, where people that try to do pirate lifestyles, but they can't.
Mm-hmm.
So they're really just like, you're doing this like wacky lifestyle, and there's obviously a trade-off. Like, if you're going to be the guy that, you know, is in that world and you got like 5 girlfriends and all this stuff, it's like the trade-off is, you know, you're going to have all your time taken up. It's going to cost you a lot of money.
Yeah.
The management perspective of all of it. You're probably
That's
not.
like Dan Bilzerian was just talking when he had like I almost roll my eyes. He goes, "Yeah, I had 50."
Shut
he goes,
up.
"I had 50 girlfriends at once." And you go, "Okay."
How?
And he goes, "Yeah, it's like it's basically what we say. It's just on a worse scale, where he's like, yeah, it's just all the talking and man, it's like."
But
just
you've been single and having
it's
like
all the
10 girl chicks on the roster or some
Yeah.
shit over time.
It's a lot of fucking work.
Well, it eventually becomes a time where you're just kind of like, this is crazy.
Yeah,
I'm not doing anything else. This is my whole life.
Yeah.
But with him, it is his whole life.
Yes.
Because that's his
his brand. And
his
all that.
job is that. So he rolled his job into that.
Mm-hmm. I do find it funny when you get the females, because it's like, sorry, females, for calling you females. I know you don't like that. But the woman's perspective, because women's like, oh, well, guys do this. I'm going to fucking wheel 10 guys. And, you know, like, they're just like, they go, I'm going to do this too. And then it all pretty much, from what I read in the subreddit and what I know about being poly, it always just comes back to the end of the day where you're like, yeah, these guys aren't poly. They're all lying to you. You go, I'm poly. You go, oh, so am I. Let's fuck.
Well, yeah, a lot of the guys in this world, it's like they just want to have their girlfriend and then be able to like smash other chicks on the
Yeah.
side. And this is a good way to do it.
Like, guys go, yeah, I'm poly. Me too. Look
oldest-
at us, a couple poly people, huh?
Or you don't want to have a girlfriend. Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, dude, the truth is, every guy that was like in his 20s on the scene like that is kind of like every person that's kind of like dating a lot of people has said to some girl or another, like, I just don't know if I'm the guy that could be with one girl. Baby, humans are meant for that shit. Dude, we're fucking polyamorous creatures by nature.
Of course.
And you just start talking and the bullshit's just spewing out of your mouth. And eventually the girl's like, whatever. Like, obviously, this is I'm my bullshit detectors are going off. But at the end of the day, you've said no to what I've asked.
Right.
It's like, hey, I was thinking that we should be together. You go, we're all just creatures out in the wild.
We're just animals, just down to the core. We're just primates, and we just.
I've been like in my fucking 20s talking to some chick in my bed, and you use this tone. It's one of those things. And just, I've been able to be present enough to look at myself and go, what the fuck bullshit are you up to?
But the best is like women.
I'm just like, I tell girls, I'm tortured. I don't know if honestly, I just can't even bring you into my world because I'm such a mess. He's like,
I can't do that to you. I wouldn't feel comfortable. I was like, huh?
Just a fucking.
But it is funny with this poly stuff because it's clear like. So like women were obviously sexually repressed, like they were relative to men. Then they were like, okay, here you're free to whatever, and they were like, guys, like they're calling us sluts or whatever. And then they just wanted to put this like term on it. They go like, guys fuck around all the time. We don't call them sluts. And then we're like, so what's our thing? And you go, we're poly. And now they're trying to bring it back to be like to guys being like, hey, I'm looking for poly guys. You're like, there's no poly guys. Like they were the guys. They were the dogs you were calling them fucking 30 years ago. Yeah. Then you called yourself poly to not feel bad about being a slut, and now you're calling them poly.
That is exactly.
And they're like, we're not poly. We're fucking. What are you talking about?
Every dude is poly enough as he can get away with it.
Yes, exactly.
And the trade-off for this is like, there's guys that you have a couple chicks or whatever, or you dating some girl that you kind of pay for everything, and she, maybe she lets you screw around every now and then, whatever the deal you get. The opportunity cost is you need to operate in this whole like world, and you need to have these rules, and you're kind of in
cosplaying.
And and then also it's like your girl's like living her version of it, where it's like they have some other guy that wants to maybe move into your like just all the nonsense that comes around with this, right?
Yeah.
So there's always like a sacrifice and trade-off to whatever deal you want to get. But these girls, they're sort of like entering this world, like kind of like, hey, I'm wondering this thing's not working out that good. And you're like, no, this thing's a mess.
Yeah.
But for dudes, they're like, a lot of dudes, it's like, I'm willing. Think about how many guys blow through so much money, so much time to like smash a nice piece of pussy. Yeah, so the girls are kind of like, this thing's a whole mess. And the guys are like tired, exhausted. It's like, I got to hit it though. So for some guys,
he's like, I have to pretend.
It's worth this trade-off. Yeah, I had to be a whole new life. I had to wear a weird hat. I started wearing weird hats.
It's mostly with polyamory.
I'm at the bar, arguing about fucking polyness to girls.
It's like, I had to get a tongue stud. Oh, God. She made me get a tongue stud.
Yeah. But for some guys, that's worth it to be able to smash other chicks.
Yeah.
But so it's just funny, these girls posting their problems, their relationship problems, but the poly relationship problems are so funny. And this person said, why do polyam guys have a hard time admitting that sometimes they are maxed out at their capacity and promise more that would make sense? It feels like I'm being strung along. So
because he's stringing you along.
But it's so funny. Like she's talking to some guy. She's like, I want to smash, and maybe we'll go for dinners and stuff. And he's like, yeah, I mean, I have 9 other girlfriends. In Dan Blazarian cases, your girlfriend number 51 being like, you're going to take me on trips, right? And for him, he's like, yeah, sometimes the whole squad goes on a trip.
The whole squad. But he's just like, we're poly. You know what the poly life's like. It's tough. It's tough for
I'm
me.
around.
He goes, I'm around. I'm poly. You're poly. We're poly.
He does do it right, though, because he goes, if you are going to do it, and it's like, he does a trip with all 50 of them at once.
Right.
Because how many times have you been with it? You're a chicken's like, her friend goes on a trip with a guy, and you're like, what are you doing? And then she's like, why don't you go on a trip? Can you imagine trying to, like, if you wanted to imagine you have 7 girlfriends, and then you go on a trip with 2 of them. Or no, you go on, 2 trips with one of them.
Yeah.
The other girlfriends are like, 2 trips for her.
And none?
Not a single trip. So you go, okay, well, I'll have to do 2 for you now. Oh. And the third girl's like,
I mean, you're a fucking, if you're that
the
guy.
only girlfriend that doesn't get a trip?
If you're that guy, you're a fucking idiot.
So, yeah, she's like me.
You're that guy, you rent a yurt, a reasonably priced yurt that fits all of you.
What's a yurt?
It's like those big tents. Our buddy Graham has one.
That's the only way to do it is you have them all in a compound.
Yeah, compound.
And it's like, hey, you don't give me enough time. It's like, what do you mean? We had dinner together yesterday. It's like, well, alone time. It's like, that's going to be fucking tough.
You know, we're poly. It's a tough lifestyle for everybody.
So she's mad when she wants people to add her as her like 45th girlfriend. And she's like, when we first met and smashed, he told me he was going to have plenty of time. And then turns out like with his job and 7 other girlfriends, 2 of which he lives with, like he's not even able to do a weekend away with me. And you go, it sounds to me like what you want is a boyfriend.
Yes. Again, that's what it all comes back to. It's like they're trying to just sow their wild oats or whatever.
But they also want all the other stuff.
Yeah, they want their cake and eat it too. And then they go, oh, I don't like this.
Also, they want to, you know, it's kind of this thing where it's like, you know, normally they have all this like BS that they want from a guy, right? And I guess if they're poly, they're like, well, I can sort of spread my BS to like a lot of different guys, right? Maybe I kind of nag this guy a bit, force this guy to come to some event with me. But it turns out that every guy in that scene kind of just has their main girl they do all that stuff with. And the other girls, it's like, listen, I want to have sex with you.
Yeah. I mean, look, we know a lot of various people from different kind of walks of life. There's a reason why, and people who listen to this do too, there's a reason why you don't know poly people really. You know the odd one. It's like a novelty or whatever. It's because fucking on paper, like maybe it seems cool,
Unless
but
that's your
actual
whole
practice,
world, right?
Sure. We
'Cause if
know,
you
we know
make
the
it your-
one guy who was like his whole thing.
Exactly. But if you make it your whole world, then you don't have to do all this groundwork as much. So let's say the only people around you are poly, blah, blah. The only because then they're like isolated almost. And then your girl's like, what about this and this and this? And you're kind of like, look around. That's what it is. That's what we all do. Are you not poly?
Wait.
You kind of
Are you not poly?
So you sort of get to put them in this thing, right?
Yeah.
But she said, so context. I've understood that while I remain solo polygam, I have a dream of finding partners who are actually physically and emotionally available. Partners interested in sharing time with me and taking trips and spending the weekend together. Well, what it sounds like you want a boyfriend.
Yes.
She wants someone that's emotionally available. But it's like, girls need a person, you know, for the most part, want more emotional availability than this. So most guys that have their main girl are already tapped out.
Yeah.
They're tapped out before they've even started talking
Big time.
to girl number 3.
Yeah.
Can you imagine like you're with you have your main girl, right? You're doing all this stuff with, and then you go on like a fun vacation. You do manage to go on like a night away with this other chick. Like you go on a fucking one-nighter trip, take her to a hotel, and she wants that night to be like,
yeah, she goes, but I want the weekend too. And you go, honey, listen.
and she wants all the emotional availability though. She's like, okay, let's talk about our feelings. You're like, this is, I could do that back at the ball and chain.
Also, the thing too is, I guess if you're in the poly lifestyle, is I think the type of guys who are like, not like I fuck a lot, I'm poly, kind of it's expected. Those guys are the super like emotional.
They might have to do all that stuff. But
Yeah.
again,
So if
that's
you're
a
lying,
trade-off,
but if you're lying about being that guy, that's going to be tough.
That's the extra
If you're
tough.
saying you're poly when you just want to fuck a lot.
And then you
go, oh, but there's all this emotional stuff I have to do.
it's a license to be tired out.
Oh, big time. You are going to be a tuckered out little guy.
You think you want to be Tucker Max? You end up being tuckered out.
Oh, that's good.
Yeah, there you go.
There you go.
I speak up about it saying, hey, it seems like you have a lot on your plate. I'm looking for someone more available. Why don't we slow down, grow a friendship, and then when things feel more level and open, but go slow. Is this reasonable? I think so. And she goes, it's not an issue of doing better. It's just an issue of being honest with oneself and the capacity. It's like, he goes, some of my partners already have hectic career and kids. So, you know, why would they tell me that they're going to have time for me? It's like,
why would a man lie to me? Why? Why have men
I'm having trouble too.
historically lied to women? If only there was this thing.
I'm having trouble with it too.
I don't know. You know what? Let's put a pin in that. Maybe we'll circle back.
That's the thing. We'll put a
pin in it and circle back. I can't figure it out.
We'll have to put a pin in that one because nothing's coming to mind for me.
No.
But she goes, I'm here, and he's saying that he wants to do this thing with me, yet he has a life, he has a family, a hectic job, but he still wants to have sex with me, but he's not going to have time to do all this other stuff that I'm asking of him.
And
Why would he lie about doing the other stuff?
I saw in his phone that my name is Mike.
Yeah.
Something's not adding up here.
He's like, yeah. So the girls, they're basically all of their all of their like poly questions are just straight up like, I can't find a boyfriend.
Yeah. And you know what? So we've kind of discussed this like a little bit with other stuff, but I think the issue here is that she first made her identity that she was poly, and now she's being forced to fit the rest of her life around her identity.
That's correct.
Right? So she's like,
The identity's huge.
This is the problem is you go, because I guess, we talk where chicks like, well, I don't know what my identity is. And then they go, I'm poly. And now they have to fit all this stuff around this. Where if you just lose that bullshit, just say I'm listening, like whatever, who cares about my identity? Just live your life.
Yeah.
You wouldn't have any of these problems. But because you're so dead set on being a poly person, you have all these problems now.
I think that relates to even what we were talking about earlier. It's like one of the big problems with the 25 to 30 era for everyone.
Yes.
is true too. You create so much identity in your, high school and college. And then some of that identity that you've attached to yourself doesn't serve you as you get older. So you're also struggling with, so that person that I said I was and all these like things that I think I am, like even let's say you were like, I'm how many girls struggle with like in their 20s in college, their whole thing is like, my whole life is I think I'm like helping people or whatever, right? And then you may be in some career where this like identity isn't really gelling with.
Yeah, you start working for like a fucking like health insurance company and you go, oh, all I do is fuck people all day long, huh?
Yeah,
That's
or
weird.
whatever, right?
Yeah.
So I think there's so much of that too, where your identity you created in a time when it was benefiting you, like being that person at college, even being like the fucking crazy party guy or something at college, it was like benefiting you.
Yeah.
And then, or even for me, potentially
it becomes,
like being the I get in trouble guy.
Right. And then you're like, oh, now I'm a fucking drug addict that I can't control it because I was trying to keep up this like cool identity as the party guy.
And shedding identities that you've attached yourself to are so difficult.
It is difficult, yeah. I mean, especially the ones that become negative that you kind of have like anchored yourself to.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's tough.
Well, the best way to describe this scenario in the simplest terms, if I was to offer advice, is just, it's probably going to be tough to get the full girlfriend experience from someone who has 9 other wives.
Yeah.
Know what it is? You know how the guys go to Rub and Tug and they want the girlfriend experience? She wants polyamory. She wants the boyfriend experience. She's having,
which is like, you think would be easy to get in any sort of, I mean, the women who this would pertain to don't listen to this podcast, but like, stop making your sexuality your identity.
That's a good point.
It's like, that's not like, that's a part of your identity.
But you have to, I
It's not
think,
your
a little
whole
bit.
identity.
If you're going to be like, I guess 3 girlfriends or whatever.
Yeah,
but the problem that I say with all these people, it's like, this is the thing that I've been saying forever. It's like when I was in my 20s, I was like, tried to be mostly single. And it was kind of this idea of like, I guess I kind of usually had like a main girl I talked to mostly, and then some other ones. And you could be like, it's like when these people are like, I have 9 girlfriends, it's like, just sounds like you have 0 girlfriends and 1 girl that's like the main girl you're sort of dating.
Yeah, exactly.
You're fucking dealing with.
And then it gets, and then it gets, you fly, you get little, like it's kind of gets on there and you go, oh, they go, what's this? And you go, all right, time to fucking promote one from the farm team.
Eventually one has to get
cut
promoted.
one and you promote one. And
because they had enough and then they get
you
fucking
literally, you bring one up to
Toxic Boys Unite. There's this page called Hoodville that fucking
yeah, you
kills
told me.
Dude, it's all like,
you just
after,
one up to the
it's
show.
all like when your fucking girl finally had enough of you and then 5 days later you send her that text like, hey, I was just thinking of you. You know what? You don't have to respond to this, but tell your mama I miss her. And it's all like, he always goes hashtag Toxic Boys Unite. It's all like, it's straight up like how to be a fuckboy page. It's so funny.
I mean, but really, just,
It's just like the guy lying in bed, like texting the 45 girls telling them he loves them, but Hoodville's fucking hilarious.
you cut the player, in a sports analogy, you cut the player with the big contract that's not performing, and then you fucking
That's so funny.
call one up.
That's
You
so-
call one up. You're
Holy
hungry.
shit.
You call up one of the hungry minor leaguers.
But then
to
at
the
the end-
show,
and
and
then
then
I
you
think-
fucking you replenish.
And
the
then
minor leagues.
eventually you get to the point where you go, listen, I don't want to run a baseball franchise anymore.
Exactly.
You know what? I don't want the part-time job of running a baseball franchise. You have to deal with all the,
Exactly.
you have to deal with all the emotions of the players. You kind of take off and you go, you know what? I'll just be one player's agent.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I'm gonna be I'm gonna transition to the agency side of this.
That's exactly what it is. And then eventually you get tired of running a farm team.
Yeah.
You go, this farm team's like, all of the players are calling me nonstop with their problems. You know what I mean? Eventually you just go, you know what? I'm just going to be LeBron's agent.
Maybe I'll get into coaching. I don't know.
Yeah. But the other one that was making me laugh even more, I goes, it's the same thing, but this one's shorter. We're not so, he goes, I'm in my first poly relationship. My partner of 1.5 years has always been amazing and comforting. Recently, she got a new partner, and since they came in her life, the partner has been completely different. I almost get no attention. And she goes, yeah, because the first part of a relationship is funner.
Yeah.
And she's having more fun with that other person.
And as in they as a non-binary?
I couldn't figure it out because it didn't say whether they're a guy or a girl. I think purposely these communities are very like inundated with this stuff. But I think that this is a dude.
Okay.
This is a dude, but he's just using the word like partner
He's
and all
just-
the
he
language
just- yeah,
and
just
stuff
all
like
language,
that,
okay.
right?
Yeah.
But you know, a girl being it's like or a dude kind of in the polyamory community, or it's two lesbians, we don't know. But just to be in a relationship and then you go, yeah, we've been together for 2 years, and then they have this new one and they've been hanging out more, and all of a sudden they want to have sex with me less, and it's like, what's up with that? It's like legitimately.
I don't know.
So I got this. I'm dating someone, and we're poly. And then when we first had sex, when we first dated, we were having sex all the time, and it was like super fun. Anyways, just 2 years later, and then there was someone else. When they're having sex all the time,
Yeah,
it's
just
this
like
fun
we used
thing.
to.
What's up with that?
What's up with that?
It's almost it's almost like they're doing the thing with this new person, kind of like when we first started dating.
Yeah.
What's up with that?
What's up with that?
Do you see what I mean? All these things are
course.
just them like understanding basics.
It's like they're just children. It's like
What's up with that?
You're like you don't know any normal people who could just explain this to you.
What's up with that?
What's up with that?
It feels like they've ruined everything we had been through. It feels like a competition, and they're doing things to spite me. It's almost like, no, this is the best part. I got my girlfriend flowers while I was on vacation, and less than a week later, he got her flowers on the same day. So it is, it is a guy. So this guy's
Or it's a
girlfriend's-
guy when he got her flowers.
Oh yeah.
Not always a guy. Just a guy when the flowers, because that's a more
So
male
basically,
trait.
they're showing up. You come home and there's flowers on the table, and you leave and you get her bigger flowers. The guy gets her bigger flowers, and then you come home with chocolates. He comes home with bigger chocolate.
And then you just hear like literally like you just hear beep beep beep. It's like, what the fuck is that?
Your
It's
fat
like
girlfriend coming home.
a dump truck full of flowers. And go, how's that? Top that fucker.
I love it's two hosers.
Just like, but it's like the guy in them really starts coming out with like the really like competitiveness.
It's something about Mary.
Yeah, exactly.
Dude, this person's life is something about Mary. Stop that, fucker. You come home. Hey, guys, he's got her a singing telegram, and you have to show up.
Wait, we're not getting played, are we? There's not going to be something that's like, yeah, and then I got my ball stuck in a zipper. And I go, they're fucking with us.
I got your tickets to the Mets. Well, guess what? I got your tickets to the Yankees. I got your tickets to the Yankees. Well, they're playing in California, and then we're taking a trip.
What a fucking nightmare.
Can you imagine you coming home and there's a big flowers on the table that your girlfriend's other boyfriend got her? And you go,
I'll be right back. I left something in the car, honey.
also, it's so much easier to be the other man where you go, the poly guy that doesn't have a main one, that he's just out there fucking all the other main ones.
Just buying from
The other man. It's so much easier to be the other man. You have no responsibilities. It's just like a perpetual child. You just go around like fucking other people's girlfriends.
And all you're doing is just like pulling. You're just grabbing fucking flowers from the cemetery on your way from place to place. You're not even buying them because you're fucking too busy fucking. You don't have time to work.
And the gifts seem so much better when they come from someone new too. It's like you imagine when you first start, it's like you take your chick to a fancy dinner or whatever, and she's like, "Oh, thank you, that's so nice of you." Nowadays, you take your chick to a fancy dinner, and she's like, "That's it?"
Yeah.
Or it's not even that. It's just kind of like, "Yeah, duh, that's what you do."
Yeah, that's what you do.
That's what you signed up for. You know, maybe you get a thank you, but it's not like any more of a thing.
No. It's these relationships again.
Love it.
Nightmare. nightmare scenario.
Isn't it funny? Because all their problems are just like,
Unless you're that dude.
but all these problems, you're like, yeah. That's why people don't do this. You're like,
That's why you don't know anybody who successfully has this.
yeah. And again, if they are, they're not complaining about it because they're like, if you went and you go, doesn't it get competitive? Yeah, no shit. This sucks, but I'm fucking, but also, just smash this one.
Yeah, exactly. You go,
Right?
but
You go, isn't that a nightmare? They go, yeah, it's obviously a nightmare, but check out these titties.
yeah, and like if you have one of your friends who is doing this successfully, you're going to know. He is going to let you know that he has this sick deal that's working out great for him, at least in his mind. Even if you go, oh, that's not for me. If he thinks it's working out great, he's going to let you know.
Oh, you're going to know. Yeah.
You're going to know. Then he goes, look at all this fucking smashing.
I have a buddy who's like an old, he is like a weird dude.
Yeah.
He's really into this stuff. But he's living the lifestyle. Like he does all this stuff and goes to the conventions and like he doesn't work that much. And this is like his whole social life, the way that you'd be into like video games.
Right.
Like his life's built around this, not vice versa.
Yeah.
Like his whole life's built around, like you said, the identity component.
Yeah, because I remember we know the one guy, I'm not going to say his name or whatever, but his thing would be like, yeah, it's fucking sick. And then he'd be like, check out this one. And you'd be like, oh my God. Like, don't show me that ever again. I'm like, what am I even looking at?
That's a girl?
Goes, yeah. Sick, right? It's like, smash that. I go, oh.
Oh, God.
Jesus. Oh, fuck.
Oh, shit. Okay. We're going to take a second here to talk about Boll And Branch. And we've been telling you about it. You know, as Jordan Peterson once said, he goes, make your bed, and have good sheets on your bed. That was actually the 13th rule. They cut it out, but the 13th rule was have fucking a nice piece of sheetery.
Absolutely.
Which is Boll And Branch. I have them, and I love them. It's the feels good, the looks good, and it comes across. It's like a premium feeling sheet.
Yeah.
You'll
High
feel the
thread
difference.
count.
You'll feel the difference in their best-selling, beautifully crafted signature sheets. We all have uncompromising standards in other parts of our lives, you know, staying in shape, trying to be good at work. So why skip out on the quality where we spend a third of our lives sleeping? In Danny's case, with a man.
I'm poly. It's just the poly arrangement that I have.
Yeah, it's just the poly arrangement.
Hey, when you're
yeah.
poly, sometimes you have the fucking guy.
So I love them. Soft sheet, luxurious look. You feel like a movie star when people come over. They don't go, ugh. They go,
Oh, Mr. Bean style. They go,
yeah. They everyone gives you a Mr. Bean grunt when they see your sheets. Experience uncompromising comfort with the best-selling 100% organic cotton signature hemmed sheets, crafted to the highest standards and attention to detail from sourcing and packaging. Give your bed the White House treatment because 3 other presidents have fallen in love with these sheets. Boll And Branch is dedicated to quality at every step, and there's no middleman between you and Boll And Branch, so you get luxury quality for the fairest price, created from the desire to create something better than anything else out there. So to experience an entirely new standard of comfort, we've been telling you, visit bollandbranch.com. Get 15% off your first set of sheets with the promo code Boyscast. That's bollandbranch.com, promo code Boyscast. Now, I feel like we had to address this article because it's been going viral in the comedy community. Mm-hmm. But so a big article came out, and the purpose of the article, it was saying, can the future of comedy be found in socialism? And this is the LA Times. Danny says yes. I'm not so sure.
Of course it is. Socialism cures everything.
And before we get in the article, I'll just say the gist of what they kind of were saying was, they're talking about, you know, this comedy co-op that like 30 people get together and they, you know, UCB.
First off, this is an improv thing.
Yeah.
Because improv notoriously fucks everybody over.
Yeah.
Like improv notoriously is like really takes advantage of people.
Yeah, because they basically get people to work for these places and they pay them in training from the other people there.
You know what it's like? It's like Tiger King, how you go work at the Tiger thing, and if you work for free and like someone gets their fucking arm ripped off, but they're all just working for free this whole time just so they can get like upgraded to like a higher rung on like the Tiger.
Yeah, you get your fake. Like, this is what Kurt said this too. They go, they're very good at paying people in things other than money.
Yes.
So they're like these institutions that operate in the sense of like a school a lot of ways, where it's like, yeah, you're getting, or like an apprenticeship, but these apprenticeships become these like lifelong journeys for people a lot of times.
Exactly.
Right? And the idea is you move your way up. So again,
and 1% of you make it, maybe.
Yeah.
Like maybe one.
You can name 5 improvers off the top of your head, but
I'm talking about all the people who do like
in
fucking
sketch comedy. Yeah,
no.
I'm saying it's lower than 1%.
Sorry. Yeah. Sorry. Yeah, I was being generous. Yeah. 1/10 of 1%, maybe. Like it's
So that's what I'm kind of. And before I even got in this article, because this is that thing that sort of happens where a lot of times people are kind of just doing their thing. And because the media is so out of tune with everything, they come out and they make these like bold statements because it aligns with what they want to say. Mm-hmm. And the truth is, I don't want this to be a slight against the people, just because like, dude, if you want to make your 25 people and have a co-op and do an improv club, that's fine. And maybe it'll do good. Maybe, it's like, that's not really the point here. The point is the media is like how they think about comedy and how everyone in that world thinks about comedy. It's like, first of all,
can I just give one little pat on the back to the LA Times, because they are super far left. Generally, at least they frame this as a question and not saying.
They don't. They frame it as a question.
The article.
Like, they've also framed it as like the question's been answered.
Yeah. They go here, but at least like they're not like. But yeah, it's all. Yeah, it's insane.
So and they kind of go back and forth of whether talking about socialism in terms of like the payment structure and socialism in terms of like, how comedy should operate in general, which is the funniest take ever of like a bunch of people like socialize their funniness to financially. Maybe I give you a little bit of your funniness. Maybe you're funnier tomorrow and I take a little bit of your funniness.
Maybe, hey, you were a little too funny. I didn't feel like you kind of gave me a little opportunity to be funny today. So
yeah,
if we kind of share the wealth.
Which is probably the least, it's the same as sports, where it's the most art form where it's very difficult to socialize.
Yeah, well, because
there's just such talent gaps.
Yeah, and like it's it's art. It's not sports.
But
so there's no
the revenue created by those talent gaps can be the difference between like $100 million and $5 million.
Yeah.
And that's what they're always having this conversation about box offices and stuff, where they're like, why weren't these people paid equally? It's like, well, the difference between names sometimes at the box office can be the difference between millions of dollars.
Oh, easily. And so I don't know if like. Just maybe because people don't know. So UCB, which is the Upright Citizens Brigade, which is the famous. I don't know if they have them anymore. I don't know if COVID wiped them out.
I think they're getting wiped out. They're trying to get bought out.
They're trying to get bought out. But so like, because people don't really know this. So they were like the big improv thing. It was started by Amy Poehler. I don't know, the bald dude, he's in stuff, and 2 other people. They were like became mainstream stars in like TV and stuff. But then they were also making tons of money off. Like, people don't know that like Amy Poehler is like a quarter owner of UCB,
and she was getting rich. And they made a few people. Like, she was able to make Broad City and stuff.
Totally,
like that.
They definitely made a few people. But like, there was this point where everybody's like, yeah, so like, you pay $200 for a class, and then they put you like. They say, oh, that was really good. You can do this like main stage show where we sell tickets, but we can't pay you because like our rents are so high. And like they would come up with every excuse in the book, while like the owner was like on, Parks and Rec, like huge star.
Okay.
You're loaded outside of this.
I didn't really know the story.
Yeah. It was I can't remember the other guy's name, because he's also like a big, not to her level famous, but him. And then, but they were like, they're just like, it was pretty fucking shady what they were doing. They kept just crying poverty, being like, well, we're not doing that.
They're standing there with their pockets out.
Kind of, yeah, being like, we don't have the money to pay you. And I will say the thing about the socialism too is like, comedy is generally a shitty business, and this is going to be shitty comedy. So you have to assume just making like adding socialism to this will make it an even shittier business. Right? Like you're not helping the business element of this by adding socialism.
But I get the idea of what they are thinking of doing. And one part of it is that the things that they're providing. So let me just backtrack a little bit. So there's this thing where in every industry, whenever feedback comes from internally and not externally, that's the number one thing that gets corrupt, right? So this idea of like socialism and socializing, based on whatever different factors, they are already doing this in most, there's already Comedy Central making choices based on things other than, on what they would consider fairness.
Yes.
So this idea of like socializing entertainment is already currently happening, right? But the mix of corruption always comes from any, like when you say academia, the news, they're peer reviewed. So the most corrupt places, any government that doesn't have to, listen to a voting or any sort of public, the most corrupt places are when there's the least external outfront. So in stand-up comedy, that's why one of the reasons it's good is because you have an audience. So that's always been like that, right? But the actual principle that they're talking about of like socializing where we all own an equal part of this, like a co-op, this has been done that's called a band. That's called an improv troupe. Like this isn't a new idea.
You're going to run into the exact problems that every single one of them runs into.
That's correct.
They go, hey, we can't pay the rent this month.
That's true. But the bigger problem that you run into is one person is now insanely famous.
There's the movie. I don't know if I saw it. I can't remember the name of it, but it's with Michael Keegan Key or whatever, Key and Peele guy. Is that his name?
Okay.
And it's literally, this is the movie. It's about a guy.
Oh, no. That was like, fuck. I can't
Yeah,
remember that guy's
he's
name.
like at an improv troupe. Then he gets on.
The one. Mike Bigley.
No. This is no. Yeah, maybe Birbiglia's in it.
Birbiglia,
but
it's his
but
movie.
it's Key from Key and Peele.
Yeah, but it's his movie.
And he's the guy who basically he's like at the it's exactly it is Birbiglia, and he's this guy who's at this improv troupe, and then he gets on Saturday Night Live, and like and it's all weird, and everybody hates him, and he's all rich now, and you're like, but again, he was the guy who's like carrying the fucking troupe,
Correct.
while he was like the huge new upcoming star in this small improv troupe.
And that's what happens, so there is maybe a small enough scale where that would work. Like, for example, a marriage or a family where you say, hey, listen, I'm making all the money, whatever, we'll still split it even. But the minute, even with a 2-person duo, maybe a 3, if you start to get to 25 people, let's say one person is now Jim Carrey, is he split, and he's one person's making the majority of the money. Now they're splitting it 25 ways. They obviously just quit.
Sure. They quit and they go do their own thing.
So anyone that's making any disproportional amount is going to quit.
Yes. Also,
Which
imagine you're the guy who's like, oh, I'm so sick. Like, I have agents coming after me, all this stuff. And then there's someone who's just like,
you have to tell your agent, like, by the way, I split my money with 25
people. But also like, then there's like the 3 people who are like on the lower bottom who shouldn't be doing, like, the thing is with improv, it's like, we all know there's so many people who go, you have no business doing this.
And a lot of them, it's just a hobby. There's going to be one person that, does as much work as they can, and their whole life is this.
And they have
calling meetings, and that's all they think about. That's their whole Instagram is promoting. And then there's going to be another guy that like has a job, is going to college.
Yeah.
And they're like, yeah, I'll show up and do the performances. This is a fun hobby for me.
Yeah. And the thing is like, I guess I don't know, maybe they write this, but how do you go about getting rid of somebody? If it's like a co-op, what do you go, hey man, you suck so badly. You bomb every time you're on stage. Like,
How do you get rid of the bottom?
How do you get rid of the bottom people? Because that's obviously like socialism's not about just fucking getting rid of the dead weight.
That's
it's all about
true.
keeping them on and supporting them. And you can't be like,
But that's who you're left with, yeah.
that's who exactly. That's who you're left with. Like if you have this weird incentive structure.
You know, another thing that that was kind of like striking.
By the way, I really
sorry.
want this experiment to play out.
Yeah, well, you know what? Hopefully it works out and some of these guys get popular. It might work out for...
I guarantee someone
Their
will.
thing might do really well and someone might get very popular, but whatever.
Yeah, and then there'll be this
and he
awkward
showed-
conversation where they have like the biggest movie in America and they just made $20 million and they get 25 phone calls being like, hey, so remember that co-op we were in that you're still in technically because we did a blood oath? How do I go about getting that money?
How do I go
Click.
get my Millie? Click.
Oh, yeah, I'm a capitalist now. Click.
Yeah, right. But there's you know how there is this like kind of idea where people always talk about like why are some people optimism and why are some people pessimists, and there's actually you can sort of attach incentives to it. Like it's for one, it's easier to be, especially if you're less creative, it's easier to be a pessimist because it's easier to say why things won't get better than it is to imagine scenarios where it would get better that don't exist yet, right? So you have to honestly be creative, and that's why like entrepreneurial people are more optimistic, right? And whereas when you see people in the news or people that are commentators, they're incentivized to be pessimistic. And a lot of people,
And the pessimism does better in their line of work too.
it also does. So exactly, right? And then even in people's own lives, it's easier to go, you go, dude, I don't have a job. I don't have this. Like it's all of the potential things that you haven't thought of how it could get better. That's so much more difficult to imagine than how it might get worse. I could get fired. I could get like cut off of this. This person could kick me out of their house. Like,
yeah.
So it takes more creativity to imagine why things are going to be better than it does to know why they're worse. And in this specifically, instead of, if they're not liking the way things are going, and instead of imagining, a new way, which is, in my opinion, decentralization, they go, we don't like the way that the things are going. It's like, well, there's already an option that's tearing down the way the industries do things. Everyone's running their own personal little business. Like decentralization is the problem to like a problematic systemized. If you don't like the way the mainstream's running it, there already is a solution, and that's like the decentralization of all these industries.
And I will say this, just like, because they're saying we got to start this thing or whatever, but like in Toronto in the 80s, the kids in the hall, just like, they didn't have a fucking place. They just went into the Rivoli and they just did their show there. They just were like, they didn't go.
They like these people like it to be a job.
They didn't sign a lease. Exactly. They like it to be like a job. Like they didn't sign a lease, the kids in the hall. They just were like, we're going to put on a show. We like doing sketch comedy.
Yeah.
And they're like, we're just going to put on a show. Like, we know a million people do, where there's no contractual obligation. Any week you should be like, all right, we're done with this.
Yeah, we quit.
We're not doing this anymore. And that's it. And then they just like got big because they were amazing.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, there's the present ways of doing it than that. And then there's these kind of like old ways. And they're just like, instead of being like, we don't like this, they go, remember that old thing that like got tried a million times? They're like, maybe that here. Because it's almost just like not a creative way of thinking of problems. It's the difference between like problem solving and just like you can't leave like an ideology. But again, this is not against any of those people. Like there probably is some super funny people in this fucking thing. You know what I mean?
Yeah, one of them.
Yeah, exactly. It's just like, it's basically just in music saying, hey, we're going to create a 25-person band and we all own equally.
Like with
and it's just like,
arcade whatever thing or whatever. Or no, Broken Social Scene.
Those don't work
No,
like
Broken
that.
Social Scene. That's the one where they have 25 people,
yes,
right?
but they all have their own like different individual songwriting rights. And it's like, they don't all make the same amount of money.
No, I don't know, 100%. And they don't like, they'll be like, Broken Social Scene's playing, and then everybody's like, where's Feist? And she's like, she comes never, okay? You might see her once a year.
Yeah.
Then you get the rest of the riffraff who is like not fucking doing a wedding that weekend. And then, but like everybody's like, yeah, there's a pecking order. One of you guys is a huge star. And then everybody's like, kind of.
There's a few other big people.
There's a few other, but Feist is the one.
Yeah, she was the biggest.
Yeah.
1, 2, 3, 4.
Yeah, she is.
The Big Apple commercial.
Oh, she's got lots of fucking.
So they said, more than a year and a half into the pandemic, we've come to expect the unexpected. Perhaps the socialist revolution can start in improv comedy. So probably won't, but I'm going to say 80% chance it does. Yeah. There you go. It's speaking to the charged political moment of social reckoning when institutions at large and small are being reevaluated on their diversity, equity, and workplace harassment policies. So
Yeah, 4 years ago.
well, that was what you're kind of saying is my second point. So the first point is that, obviously when someone's Jim Carrey, it's going to be difficult, right? But the bigger point is these kind of solutions is what the industry's already doing, right? So it's kind of like, hey, what about more of like a socialized thing? So if they're saying like, hey, they're kind of, you sort of present yourself as like, I have this conversation always with comedians even, because we're friends with so many diverse opinions, right? Like we have fucking buddies that do comedy where they're fucking straight up communists and all sorts of different, that's a funny thing about comedy. It's like you'll see your buddy, he'll do 10 minutes on like how men are the worst and you'll be like, hey, here's a tag for that. Like, because you're so focused on like whether it's funny or not, right? Mm-hmm. And I think that with these people, it's like the idea here from like a straight up branding perspective is they're saying we're sort of different than the industry, but the only thing different is like we're a bit more of it.
Yeah, that's true.
Right? Because they're saying it's like, hey, we're like, it's going to be like socialism and diversity and equity. And you go, oh, like Comedy Central. It's like, no, more. But
and then there's like the 3 straight white guys there who are like, oh, yeah.
That's it.
I guess I'm going to have to start sucking some dicks or something because this is getting scary.
But if you're this like underground thing and you want to be different from Hollywood.
Yeah.
Well, this is what Hollywood is right now. Mm-hmm. So when you look at Hollywood, it's the equivalent of being, right now, if you go, I'm going to differentiate myself. How? It's like, I'm going to support Black Lives Matter. That's going to be my thing. And you're just like, every actor's doing that. And they're like, do it more. Not, so it's irrelevant of what the things are. Yeah. It's just, it's not different. It's kind of like what's already happening. And that is the mainstream. So it's not some like new thing. That is the mainstream of entertainment right now.
Yeah. Also, these are just people doing pretend, so just let them have their pretend.
Boy, would these things have a lot of fights in that co-op.
Again, it's like you know exactly how this is going to end. This is going to go full Animal Farm style. There's going to be the fucking guards. There's going to be like the lower people. They're going to they're going to eventually split themselves up into a like higher class, lower class. It's going to just
Well, they said if comedy theaters aren't a path to getting rich or famous, perhaps one show at the Los Angeles Performance World can show that there's power in socialism. It's a model based less on propping up local celebs and more about supporting a theater because of its perceived morals and ethics. So the problem is kind of, there's this idea that it'll be about like community or whatever. The problem is you're taking a bunch of people that like really want to be famous. And that's just it's like, talk about, there might be someone who is, they're very Bernie Sanders principled. The problem is I'm in this industry. I've been in this industry my whole life. All these people want to be celebrities.
Absolutely.
I'll tell you what, the people that are the most like, politically left wing,
fat chick.
They talk less about comedy and they talk like I was talking to, some LA people this weekend that are the most of all this stuff. And you know what they talk about? Like, oh, so-and-so just did a late night thing. Like someone got hired on this writing job. Like, oh, do you want to get on this industry? Like they're all very, how do you move up this system,
absolutely.
Right? They want to be successful.
Yes.
They moved to LA or New York from their hometown. They told their parents, who a lot of times have money, that I'm going to be a fucking comic. And their parents are like, all right, we'll support you. It's like they want to be famous.
Right. 100%. And the whole, what was the line, the morals and ethics line that you said?
They said a model that's based less on propping up local celebrities and more on supporting the theater itself.
Yes.
Because of its perceived morals and ethics.
Okay. People do not go to fucking watch comedy for the morals and ethics. They watch it to laugh. It's like saying I go watch the NBA for their morals and ethics. Maybe you're like,
some people do.
No. You're like, I like it when LeBron James, like, fucking has good morals and ethics and all that stuff.
Yeah.
But he still has to be LeBron James first.
Yes.
Like you can't, like he can't just be like, oh, LeBron James, he can't make a basket, but man, his morals and ethics are great. Like,
but what they also described is like any theater or comedy club, which again, this works better in probably a small town where there aren't celebs. But the idea of a comedy club, it's there. I mean, the corner was that where it's like, you like the people there, but really you're like, oh, that place is cool. Mm-hmm. So that's what they're saying. They're kind of like, we all have ownership in this place that's cool, which is to some degree true.
Sure.
And it's like, why is it cool? It's like, well, we're the most, we're like the place you go if you kind of think all this stuff and we align with you and you're going to see that kind of comedy.
Yeah.
It's just all breaks down when someone's really famous, they'll leave. Mm-hmm. But the
or if there's like a
club can
or if there's a
like
financial problem where they go, hey, like for us to make like we're not doing that well, so we need money to keep our lights on, which is just like a pretty standard problem.
And all the people
and they go, everybody, we need $200 from every person, and then people are like, I don't have it.
Well, if someone that's
And
very
then someone has to be like, okay, well, this guy over here, he has more money, so why don't you put in $600 and cover two
You're
of
like,
us?
well, I want to
And then
own
he's-
more.
And then he
they
goes,
go,
yeah,
no.
I want more. And they go, no, we want. And then you have your literally goes, well, that's not fair. You have all your infighting.
Because if someone owned it, it's like that is kind of necessary in these things too, because these are very like age specific in a lot of ways. So someone that's 20 kind of comes in or whatever, and they build this whole thing and they have this vision. Well, let's say 10 years from now, 15 years ago, everyone's left. You just have a new people that weren't really part of this. It's just going to keep, it'll
There's
become
a reason
someone else.
why there's such a thing as a hierarchy. Like in a business, a hierarchy works for that reason. If your hierarchy doesn't exist and it's just one flat column or like whatever, just like one where everybody,
Right.
you go, it's mayhem. It's like it doesn't work.
So they're kind of saying all that. They're right now the industry is driven by a white-led power structure that marginalizes diverse voices. So we're gonna do it differently. And it's just like there's like pop music is the mainstream of music. This is the equivalent of being like, well, we're super pop music because it's just they're already saying all that stuff. The comedy co-ops hopes to allow performers to set their own ticket prices and take advantage of the door. So, I mean, you can already set your ticket prices.
Yeah.
I mean,
nobody's stopping you
you
from
can
setting
already
your ticket prices.
Yeah, I set my ticket.
Not only
prices.
that, there's so many venues where they go, yeah, you can have the whole door. Just let me sell fucking chips and
Yeah, let me
drinks.
sell chips. It's a pretty basic part.
I
of
guess
the deal.
now they're seizing the means of production.
I guess
'cause they're gonna
UCB
sell the
didn't.
chips.
They're basing this on this other one where it's like they really scammed you.
Yeah, UCB fucked.
It's like they're coming out and they're like, we have this idea where, hear me out. I know it's wacky, but people can set their ticket prices. You're like, what have you been doing for 10 years? They're like,
Yeah.
UCB. Like,
But also, there's going to be 4 people who are super famous who are going to this is just going to turn into a new.
well, that's the
UCB.
problem. Socialists want to be famous, and there's a big career in being an internet socialist, and they want to be famous more than they want this stuff. And that's the same. I was kind of thinking about that's funny. Do you want Love Island? All these these Hollywood people that make shows like that. They kind of come out and they say we're all for all the right stuff. 2 people have committed suicide on that show.
Like on the like
No, afterwards because they do like a lie detector.
I was going to say,
test.
I was like, I might go watch it. Now.
So they do like a lie detector test, and some people, all this crazy stuff came out, and they became the villains of the internet, and they killed themselves. 2 or maybe more. I don't know. Some people have killed themselves, but it's like they keep doing it and be like, "Where are your ethics now?" And they're like, "Yo, I'm at the women's march, bro."
yeah, exactly.
Yeah, but I'll be at the women's march.
No, I didn't fucking pull the trigger.
I'd expressed that I was a socialist, he said in a recent interview. And they were like, will you have a committee for censorship and canceling comedians? So someone was saying that facetiously to them. And they said, what? No, that's a misinformed idea that when people hear a socialist or worker cooperative, they think censorship. So I'd just say, want to bet?
Again, I'm like someone who likes good like comedy gossip and kind of like infighting. Like it's going to be fun to watch.
Well, they're saying they'll deal with it internally, which might be like they put them in the beginning, in the middle of the circle, and you go, shame.
yeah, shame. Yeah.
Shame.
Struggle sessions.
Shame.
Shame.
Shame. They all hit them with a feather. Shame. So that's.
I mean, the thing like
You've just seen this idea a million times. I mean, it's a band sketch
literally
troupe.
it's just it's like everybody knows that yes, on paper, this sounds great. Nobody will dispute that on paper.
I don't know if it sounds that great on paper.
At least to
even.
them it does, but you're like in practice.
The idea of
this
it's
won't-
romantic.
Exactly. And you're like, great. We all get to share in the money and there's not going to be some mean dude or person who runs this.
It's always
place,
easy
who
until
takes all-
there's money.
Who takes all the profits. yeah. Like we're losing money. You're like, great, who cares? But it's
Yeah,
like,
yeah.
and,
It's always easy until
even
there's
better
money.
is when there's one owner who's fucking like struggling and is running this whole place and losing money and pulling his hair out. And everyone's like, it sucks.
Yeah.
As long as we get our $20 a spot or whatever.
Yeah, we've
And-
seen that a
and
million
then you're like, oh, the person's fucking turns it around and is making all this money. And people are like, what the fuck?
Yeah.
You're making money off of me?
But yeah, then there's the extremes where, like you said, a UCB, where it's the opposite. It's like, I mean, it's to some degree, there is like a social pressure for owners to, operate somewhat reasonably.
Yeah, like
within market rates of like what it is.
No question, UCB were pieces of shit. Like,
Well, yeah, you look around everywhere else and they go, this is how much they're paying. They're like, how much do you pay? And they're like, that's the thing.
have you ever heard a little thing called slavery?
How much do you pay for people? It's like, if anything, we gave them $1 million worth of improv courses.
Yeah.
So the way we see it, they owe us money.
they're-
And we've been nice enough to cancel that debt.
It's kind of an indentured servitude scenario. They're just
Yeah.
working off the.
Snake eyes, pal. So it's I'll just do a couple more things here where they go, this one is kind of funny. And again, I hate trashing this guy. Like this guy just might be some improv guy and he might be funny, but he goes, I was at one of the early meetings and James asked, what's 2% of 2,000? And I threw the number out, says the actor comedian. Oh, it's $40. And he was like, oh God, you're good with numbers. So you should be the money committee. So this guy who can understand simple arithmetics got it. That's
I
how they
mean,
decided.
honestly, that was one of the things that I was most made sense. I go, yeah, I guess you're letting people play to their strengths.
2% of 2,000. It's like how so you're the only guy in the whole improv troupe that can do simple percentages.
And that's going to be the guy who basically ends up embezzling all the.
Well, it's like these idiots can't even take.
Yeah.
You don't even,
He goes,
It's like how fast do you have to? Like even the dumbest, like the person who's like really not good at math. You go, it's 2% of 1,000. You could do in about 10 seconds, or 10 milliseconds, and you just double that. It's like anyone can. But yeah. There's
Sounds
always
like
someone that embezzles money.
So, yeah, that's another thing. It was always.
Well, they finished the show. They have $1,000 in their pocket. No one was really keeping track.
No.
And then they're like, all right, let's split that 25 ways. And you go, yeah.
Yeah, we will split that $500 25 ways, won't we?
Yeah, for sure. The 300 gets
300. Split it up. Split it up.
Shit. Yeah, they're having fun. You know, it's more of an LA Times in the media. That's what I'm saying. It's like a bunch of people want to start their 25-person thing and do an improv thing. And you know what? There's a chance that one of them pops off and that's like anything else. But this, LA Times being like, is this the future of the entertainment industry? No, the future of the entertainment industry is decentralization. That's just, unless it was government imposed, the future of the industry is like clearly look around at who's popular, who's doing well, and what the trend is. The trend is that people being able to speak directly to their consumers and directly
It's amazing
to people
that
like them.
they didn't even reference that.
The
in
way
the
that the
article.
whole industry's changed, where it's like, if you want to write a book, you can just make it. You can put it on the internet. If you want to start a YouTube channel, you can just do that. You can be supported on patreon.com/theboyscast by people who directly specific like you without going to Comedy Central and demanding that their gatekeepers, approve of what people younger than them like in a culture that they're out of touch with. So no, that's the future.
But
of
it's amazing
entertainment.
that in this article that's purportedly journalism, and then they ask this question, is this the future? There was no thing where we go, or maybe the future is like, how we go on YouTube every day and TikTok and all that stuff. Like that never just came up.
Yeah,
that might be the future.
Yeah. You're going by. You go, all these people.
You're the LA Times, the epicenter of fucking entertainment in the world.
That's correct.
And you go, all these people like YouTubers, and you have the dumbass walls with the influencers take photos of, and that never even like just pops up in the article. Maybe that's the future.
Maybe this new thing that is clearly presented itself as the future, undebatably. Where you go, who's the biggest celebrities in the world right now? Mostly like Dixie D'Amelio, whatever the fuck, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And you go, I wonder what the future is. Maybe it's if 25 people get together and start an improv, dude.
A socialism improv troupe.
But my beef is with, LA Times, just like the story should be like some kids formed an improv troupe.
Yeah. We wish them the best.
Yeah, honest, right?
Yeah, we wish them
That's
the best.
the story.
We'll check in with them in a year to see where they're at.
Yeah.
And like that's it. And they go.
And yeah, again, no slate on them. But this has been the Boyscast, as always. Extra bonus episode every week at patreon.com/theboyscast. Appreciate people being out there, reaching out. I've talking to a ton of people there, respond to all the comments and questions, and we have enough people that there's a lot of discourse going on over there.
Yeah.
If you do want to send any questions, the Boyscast with Ryan Long at gmail.com. This has been the Boyscast.